Do you like good books? How about good people? If that's you, check out Tomorrow Bookstore, a general interest shop located in the heart of downtown Indy, focused on global and immigrant stories, independent publishers, and works in translation. Tomorrow hosts book clubs, author events, small business pop-ups, and a whole lot more. So go check it out for yourself at 882 Mass Avenue or follow along on social media at Tomorrow Bookstore. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Piece, your place to discover the untold stories of Indianapolis through the perspectives of all of its incredible people. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I am your host, and I'm excited to be back with you in 2025, the year of community. It's been an incredible year, and if you can believe it, we actually only have one more episode after this for this year. So stay tapped in with us at Conversation Piece Pod on Instagram and the social media apps, conversationpiecepod.com for the archives and everything else Conversation Piece. We've got a lot of really cool things cooking and coming up, so you want to stay tuned for that. But you are not going to want to miss these last two conversations, and that's what I'm excited to talk about today. And I'm not gonna waste any more time. What did I say about the intro? We're just stumbling our way through it.
You're doing fantastic.
That's fine. Stumbly Armstrong is my name. And I am really excited because my guest today is many things: a hiker, a runner, a reader, a cook, a consultant, a fun and focused ideas person, a mom, and a partner. In addition to all of that, she's also the CEO and founder of a little company called Ash Elm Cider, who've been crafting high-quality ciders with regionally sourced ingredients right here in Indianapolis for damn near a decade now. She has spearheaded one of the nation's most successful hard cider companies, not just by being great at sales and all of the business aspects of running a business, but by being a great human being who has consistently put people over profit, culminating in a community that has shown up time and time again. We've got a lot to talk about, so without further ado, it is my great joy and privilege to welcome Andréa Homoya to the show. Andréa, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for pronouncing my name correctly.
Absolutely. I watched the podcast that you were on, and the guy mispronounced your name, asked you if he pronounced your name correctly. You said that he did not, and then he proceeded to mispronounce it again.
Don't ask if you don't want me to answer, honestly.
And I was just like, that is one of my great fears, is mispronouncing someone's name.
No, you did it perfect.
And thank you. I appreciate it. I gave you a little bit of an intro, but for folks who are tuning in right now, watching, listening, wherever they are coming in from, who maybe don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I feel like you shared my bio from like 10 years ago. I'm like running and hiking.
I did see, yeah, that was on there. I see that you still like working out, I think, like, getting it in a little bit.
I dabble.
Yeah, I'm the same. As a parent, I understand.
You totally get it. Yeah. That's a lot of what I do. I run Ash Elm. I have 2 little kids. I grew up overseas, which you probably found in your research, which I feel like has provided a framework for everything for me,
Sure.
you know? So yeah, I mean, that's who I am.
Yeah. I did see that you grew up overseas, Tanzania, I believe.
Yeah.
Singapore. And Singapore. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, growing up outside of the States, growing up just in other places, how did that impact your perspective on the world? Did you realize that it was impacting your perspective on the world when you were growing up?
That's a good way of thinking about it. I think at the time we were American in these other countries. It's not like I was Singaporean or Tanzanian.
Sure.
So like I always knew I was different there when I was there. And then I knew I was different when we came back because I had just come back from Tanzania and like didn't wear shoes and would run around and people would be like, that's weird. One of my mom's favorite stories is we were back for just a few months for a family wedding. And I was 5 and I just peed in the grass in the neighbor's yard. And they were like, you can't do that here. And I was like, oh, so like I definitely knew I was different when I was little because of that. But I think like as I'm older, especially in like my 20s and 30s, when you're kind of becoming more of an adult, I realized like what it had given me in terms of perspective and not just like the visible like I wear different clothes or I,
Sure.
have different cultural norms. So yeah, I think just I've always kind of felt like an outsider no matter where I am, which I feel like is really good because it, when you feel like an outsider, you kind of have to know who you are. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
You define a lot of people define themselves by who they are not. And I knew a lot about what I was not like from the beginning because I was like, I'm not you, I'm not you, I'm not you, I'm not you, I'm not you. So what am I?
Sure.
And I think that kind of sense of identity always benefited me growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So perspective and my mom, I remember we moved schools all the time and not just like a different zip code school, but like a different continent school and
Sure.
totally different educational model and everything. And, and the few times I'm a pretty like easygoing kind of person, but in the few times I did struggle about it and would be like crying to my mom about not making friends. She'd be like, your job is to just find the people who also don't have friends and make them your friends. And so I think I've always had this mindset of like finding the people on the outskirts and gathering them.
Yeah.
And I think that is like ingrained in me in a way that I don't even realize sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm thinking about like my lived experience. So I was adopted from Korea. I grew up in predominantly white, very rural Indiana. And knowing that I was different and then also being like racially and culturally isolated, I experienced a like almost feral desire to be accepted. And so like I like resisted the idea of being different. And I like wanted to be white. Like prayed like, God, why am I not white?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that it doesn't seem like you like struggled with like the acceptance piece because you got to not only navigate different spaces, but were then affirmed by a guardian or parent that like, it's okay to be that way. Like that was just like, would you say it was like normalized?
Yeah. Yeah.
For you?
Yeah. And I think that, I wanted to be known as being unique. I think that I was like, I'm not like the rest of you.
Sure.
Which is a little bit of a problem on its own, but yeah, it was the opposite as you. Instead of like wanting everyone to be like, you're just like us. I wanted them to be like, wow, you're interesting.
Yeah. What things were you doing at the time that you found quote unquote interesting?
Like eating weird food in a crowd. In high school, my friends would be like, let's go to Taco Bell. And I'm like, Taco Bell? Maybe we should get some goat and make a goat curry. And they'd all be like, what?
Okay.
So like things like that I think there was also like Singapore is such a huge city and very it's like super technologically advanced and a lot of like a melting pot of lots of different cultures. And when they told us we were moving to Indiana, like my family, we were so like devastated. Like I took the bus by myself to school. I like ran around the city by myself. It's super safe, great public transport. And we were moving here and just like, there's corn. There are no buses. There's like, everyone looks the same and talks the same. And I remember my sister and I being like, why is everyone always talking about John Mellencamp? And just being like, so like, what is this place? And really wanted to kind of, I don't know, probably just, I think we looked down on Indiana for a while when we first got here and we're like, we're too cool. And, you guys would cry if you knew what we'd seen, just kind of some of that, very young perspective. But yeah, that was
not
more.
A John Mellencamp fan then?
Now I appreciate him. But at the time I was like, little pink houses, what is he even talking about? Chili dogs are gross.
That is hilarious. Chili dog fan?
No, yeah. Okay. Like I'm telling you, I've become assimilated. But at the time it was so like, I will never,
Totally. Listening to you share your experience, it reminds me of like some of my friends' immigrant experiences, which is interesting because you are technically not an immigrant, but you kind of are because you grew up in, but also outside of American culture. Yeah. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, totally. I have huge gaps in American culture.
Did it feel like that when you moved to Indiana? Did it feel like you were had that kind of experience?
Totally. Like there was probably part of the reason we put on such that front of like, we're cool is because we also just did not know what was going on
Sure.
here. Like the things people cared about, the things they talked about were just like, I still don't know what Fraggle Rock is. And I'm never going to, you know, like
think that's
I just
okay.
have to accept that there are things I don't know, that people will reference things and I'll just be like, yeah, no idea.
I think the most American thing you could ever do is fake it like you did know what it was anyways. So
yeah, so the fact that I was like, yeah, no, I totally like, so when you, there's a thing called third culture kid, which
Yep.
is where your parents are from one culture and you grow up in a third. So you're not inherent in the culture anywhere you go.
Yeah.
And I think that luckily we had a lot of friends who are also third culture kids. So like, that's the other part of that kind of culture is that you meet those kids who
Yeah.
you've never met before and you're best friends forever because there's this innate kind of like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you stick out in the way I stick out and no one else sticks out in the same way.
For sure.
So, yeah.
I've read that one thing that you really love to do are things that seem impossible to be done. I was wondering where that drive comes from. It sounds like you've shared a little bit of where that is, but
I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think my best trait, both as like a person and as a business owner, is that I'm not a perfectionist. Like, I think a lot of perfectionists really don't want to try things until they know that they can succeed in them. I don't have that. I don't care if I fail. But the thing is, like, people don't try things very often.
Sure.
Like, people don't take these big swings. And I don't care if I miss. So if I take a swing and I hit it, great.
yeah.
And so like in some ways it sounds like an impossibility, but I think it's not impossible. I think people just tell themselves that it's impossible because they are scared to try it.
Yep.
Not that I'm not scared of some things, but just like, I remember when my husband and I were kind of thinking about starting Ash Elm and it felt like it was a huge personal risk. I remember being like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, we're not going to end up, like, we have family. So it fails. So we live with our parents for a while. It's embarrassing. We lose money, but we're, in our young 30s at that point. So what? Like, literally, we're not going to die if it fails. So why not try it? And, that's not him. He's an engineer. So he was like, I don't know. The spreadsheet doesn't work out. Sorry, Aaron. That's not what he was like. He was probably more like,
Sure. Thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking
ponder.
about it.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm much more cavalier and it's like, it's just money. It's just, my reputation. Who cares?
Yeah.
Which is probably also rooted in that
So
childhood.
So like that's where how your parents approach life. Essentially, I would assume is just like
We'll figure it out.
Rooted in like security of self. I think.
Yeah.
And like you said, you felt like you knew who you were pretty early on. And did you feel like that got destabilized a lot when you came to Indiana then? And then, or did it take time to find that person again?
I think the times it felt the most destabilized was when I realized like, I can't keep talking about this thing that happened when I was a kid as if it's still like the most important thing about me. I'm 25. I've lived in Indiana since I was 11 now. Like this is me a while ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to be like, well, I grew up in Singapore. Like at a certain point, like who talks about what they did when they were 10?
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I'm kind of like still doing that. And maybe it's time to figure out like, yes, that shaped who I am, but who am I now? And so, I think that was in college when, you meet a bunch of other people who all have very interesting backgrounds and not all, but like a lot of them do. And, you're not like the one kid in the town. You're like this kid in a city with a lot of other people.
Sure.
So I think there was a lot of trying to figure out, what specifically mattered to me at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You out of college were working in sales, I believe, and then for a wellness company, I think.
Yeah.
And then you ended up with I can't remember. Sun King. Okay. Was that transition to Sun King when you realized like hospitality was an industry that you could see yourself in?
No, we realized it before. So, during that year and a half that I was at the wellness company, we had just gotten married, Aaron and I, and he had always been kind of interested. He's much more of like a dabbler in the art finesse side of food and beverage. Like he was making beer.
Yeah.
He's like makes great food and, would host these fancy coursed dinners for his friends and just, really into that food and dining experience. And he wanted to start a business. And we talked about it for long enough that I was like, can we just like do it or not? Can I just stop talking about it? And so I kind of held his hand to the fire and I was like, stop changing your mind all the time. Focus. I will help you focus. And so I wrote a business plan and started meeting with people. And then kind of once we had kind of said like, yeah, let's do it, that's when I started thinking about Sun King. So I had never really been planning on food and beverage or hospitality personally. He, I think, had always liked the idea of it and like what it represented. But I was more just like, I want to run things. I want to like be in charge. I want to like
you just want to do the thing.
I want to do the thing. I don't want to talk about the thing. I want to do it. So
Was there something that you were wanting to do or thought you were wanting to do prior to being like, okay, we're done talking about the cider business. We're going to do the cider business now? So
I got a master's in public health with a concentration in epidemiology. So I really wanted to do like disease science.
Okay.
Probably what you thought I was going to say, huh?
I mean,
but yeah, I think like health, really, it was kind of community-based health. Like my thesis was on childhood obesity epidemic. And my angle was like this, we need more streetlights and stop signs and like sidewalks and like the built environment is very like a part of that, and grocery stores and food deserts and all of that. So less about like exercise more and eat better and more like how does our society make it more easy to make the healthy choice than the hard choice?
Less putting the onus on the person and more like, hey, there's other things still here.
That's another thing that is like a total Singapore thing, which is like this community mindedness and like it's Asia. It's got a lot of the common good rather than the individualized good. So like a lot of that, like what are we doing as a collective to support the individual? And so that's what I wanted to do.
Was the idea of being a business owner and entrepreneur exciting to you? Or was it more like, I just like the challenge of building a thing?
It's the latter. Okay. Yeah. Like neither of my parents and neither of Aaron's parents worked in the for-profit sector at all. Like his parents were government, mine were nonprofit. So like neither of us really, like he worked at Cummins. So like he had worked at a business, but it's not like we grew up in that world and had a bunch of contacts or experience. But I think I have a little bit of a natural inclination for, convincing people to do things, which is basically sales. And like making people like me while I convince them to do what I need them to do. So that was one thing. But I think also just like the idea of like, okay, so I took a personality test one time and they were like, your personality type is the same as Hitler. And Stalin. And I was like, what?
What personality test is this?
First of all, change your references. How dare you? But then they were like, you can envision a big thing and then figure out all the tiny steps to achieve the big thing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I better use it for good, not evil.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of people, they're either like, they have this big picture, but they don't know how to get there, or they can like do what they're told, but don't know where they're headed. But I can kind of do both. And so I think like a lot of people can, but it's very much like a project-based mindset where you see the project, you do the project, you complete it, you do a different project. And I have a lot of that like upstart and wanting to just like tackle a big thing. I don't want my job to be done in a couple of days. I don't want to do things that are just like tedious. I want to like have something meaty that I have to really think about and plan for and research and then spend months on. Yeah. And then it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, we did it. Like, I can't believe it actually happened.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's why the business was interesting to me. I had no idea what I was getting into. Yeah. But it was that kind of like, well, if we want to start a business, then we start with the business plan and then we talk to this person, and we just don't stop.
Yeah. Was there ever a point that you was like, that it became reality? Like at first it seems like it's like we're ideating, and it's like, we're just going to, maybe not talk about it, but we're at least going to take the next step of like, we're going to put something on paper.
Yeah, that's so
but
me.
It still doesn't really, still doesn't necessarily mean like we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that it was like, we're going to do this for sure, for real?
I think there was for Aaron.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure whether it was like when we signed the lease or opened the bank account or like wrote a personal check to that bank account. For me, it was just like, and now the next step, and now the next step, and now the next step. And I'm still there.
And
like almost 10 years later. I think like I think that at a certain point it became you know what? There was one. It was right before we opened. Almost 10 years ago, I remember being like, wow, this whole time I've had all of these things I'm trying to achieve. And now we're just open, like, and that's it. Like, and now I start like promoting the sandwich special every day. Is that like the job now? And just like feeling very much like, so we did it.
Yeah.
And then like now I have to maintain something. That's not as fun. I want to like do it. So yeah, that was a moment where I was just like, oh shoot.
Does it lose a little luster right after the opening moment? Like the day next day?
Totally. Okay. I was like, I guess I'm going to slice meat again for the third day in a row. Yeah. That's weird. Yeah. So like I want to do something for a couple of days and move on. Yeah. Yeah. It's a problem.
How difficult is it to start a new business while also starting a family?
I wouldn't recommend it. So Ash Elm was, I want to say 9 months old when I found out I was pregnant with my first child. So I honestly think that opening a business is a lot like having a kid. Like you're responsible for it. It is not sustainable on its own. Right. You cannot not think about it and leave it alone if you want it to actually prosper. So in some ways, like the transition from having no kids to having kids was eased by having a business. We already like couldn't go out and do fun things and go on trips. And then we had the kids. But I do think that like, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And especially, you know, with COVID also being in there and having two kids and the business and just like the weightiness of the world. Yeah. And like the biggest problem for me was feeling like the world is on fire and I am trying to tell you to buy another 4-pack. Like I can do a lot and this is what I'm doing is kind of how I felt and felt like, what a waste of me. Sure. Like, that's what I'm doing. And, you know, people are very kind and they're like, oh, you give us a place to gather and like hospitality. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like that does matter, but also I could run for office, you know? Sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, having kids is hard. It became harder when Aaron left his full-time job at Cummins. So now we both work full-time for the company. I think we thought that when he left, we would have more time with the kids. But now, like before, because he wasn't there, if there was a problem, I had to solve it with my team. Now, if there's a problem in his department, he has to solve it. But if there's a problem in my department, I have to solve it. Right. And who is with the kids? Yeah. You know, like, so we just cannot, like, if there's a red level problem, you only get one of us. And before, like, you only got one of us too, but at least like we knew that. And there was some consistency and there's probably like a plan in place. That you could kinda, just like the amount, like almost all of our communication with each other, mine and Aaron, aside from like work meetings is like, are you getting the kids or am I? Are you doing dinner or am I? Like, did you remember to send this immunization record to school? You know, it's just like so, and I think that's normal for parents who both work, but yeah, it's hard for sure. How do you navigate those conversations? Not well. I guess I'm asking as a fellow like entrepreneur whose spouse also works, who we're now new parents, and it's like we're navigating those conversations right now, and that would probably be my answer. Is like it's hard and it's not easy to do so. So I wouldn't say I had a mental breakdown. Don't worry, but I did kind of say like, you know what, I'm checking out to myself. Yeah, in everything, and I think I kind of felt like I've been running this company for so long and now I'm running this business and then I'm running this household and I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm just not doing it. Yeah. And that's not a good a good coping mechanism. That is not a good way to endear yourself to your spouse or to your employees or to your children.
Sure.
So I've checked back in.
Checking back in.
Woo! 2025, the year of being checked back in. That is what's happening for me. But I think like I've learned about myself, and I've had to learn it over and over again, is that like this will matter to you. Like when you're an entrepreneur, you have to create your own work structure.
Right.
And when you work for someone else, you don't. And that can be great. It also means that you have to do it. And it's just like another million set of decisions you have to make in a day. And I think the fact that no one is like, hey, you need to be at this meeting. You need to do this. Like I'm the one setting the meeting and I'm the one deciding what time it is. And I can make it at 11 if I have to do something at 10. But it's just like all of these decisions that you never even have to make when you work for someone else, you now have to make them all every day with your partner if they work with you. Yeah. And it's just too much. And so I think especially lately, we've had some staffing changes that means Aaron has to be at work in a way that is no longer quite as flexible, which means I have to do the kids and I have to do the family. And in a way, like I'm in a trad wife type of role suddenly, which is not really what I've ever done. And it's actually working better in our personal lives because like now I know this is my responsibility. Because before when you both do everything, no one has to do anything. Yeah. And so we would sit there and I'd like glance at him and be like,
spend a lot more time talking about who's
look at those dishes. Are you going to, or am I, or neither. Yeah. And now it's just like, I clean up while you put the kids to bed. We do it every night. So like, we don't even have to talk about it. It just happens. So yeah, I think I'm learning that like I have to have structure in order to feel like I'm not falling apart all the time. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because I feel like I've been struggling with that as an entrepreneur is the structure part. Mm-hmm. And I've been like looking for potential part-time just to get that aspect of just like the routine day-to-day kind of breakdown because one of my struggles is just building the structure out.
It's hard.
I can do the stuff once it's on the calendar, but like if I don't put it on there, it's not on my reminders list, like it has the potential to slip. And I'm willing to admit that.
And like, we're just people. Like, if I don't have to do it, maybe I won't, And like, you can only do that for enough days in a row before you're like, should have done that then. And now I'm in a crisis situation and I did it to myself. Yeah. So,
you talked about kind of what you've learned, in your personal life as Aaron has been part of the business full time. Mm-hmm. You started the business and then like 4 years in, right as you're probably hitting your stride, COVID hits. Mm-hmm. You're also parenting, you're doing a lot of things. I was wondering, what did you learn about yourself during that time? And like, how does that fall into the context of what you learn about yourself now?
I think COVID made me realize, like I've always, again, like known I kind of have leadership skills and people skills. Yeah. But I think COVID is when I had to be like, I can't just rely on this like natural gift. I have to actually like have the hard conversation and do the hard thing and make the hard choice and communicate it and tell people why and just like kind of step up and be like, this is my company. Yeah. This is not our company. Like before COVID, we were pretty small. I want to say we maybe had like 10 or 12 employees back then, a handful of full-time, but a lot of part-time. And so I want people to be happy and I want them to like their jobs and I want them to enjoy working with me. And, there was always a little bit of separation. We weren't like friends outside of work necessarily purposefully, but I still, wanted to be liked. Yeah. Right. And I think COVID taught me that like you like to support the people that work in our company, we have to make the hard decisions. And it is to support you, even if you hate the choice I'm making. Sure. And so like trying to communicate that with people just felt like a real step up in like owning my power in some ways and being like, this is my company. No one else is going to care about it the way I do. For sure. So yes, I'm furloughing all of you. And no, I'm sorry, you are not getting furloughed.
Yeah.
You know, like that was almost harder. Furloughing, at first when you had to furlough everyone or when that conversation started, I was like, oh my gosh, but all these people in the jobs and because we didn't know they were going to get paid.
Yeah.
So I was crying on the phone and I was, ripping my hair. I was also pregnant at the time. So I was just like really struggling with like, how am I going to, I know these people and I know they have kids and they're, how are we going to do this? And I feel so terrible. And then later as COVID went on and they were like, this is actually great. If you could like not bring me back for another few months, I'm just having a great time. And then I started feeling bad for the people who never got furloughed, because we were an essential business technically. Okay. So we had me and these other few people who worked the whole time who, as it progressed, were like, yeah, it would be really nice if I could sit at home and get paid more than I get paid for my actual job. Yeah. And that felt bad. And, but I was also like, well, I would like that too. But, so it was super hard. And just like having to tell people, like, if we really close, like we might never open again. So you don't short term, it sucks, but long term, think about your own life in 2 years from now, or, however long when it's over. Yeah. I think COVID really taught me to just do it. Yeah. Do it and not apologize for how you're doing it, but just do the thing you have to do. And that protecting the company feels sometimes like I really am sensitive to people thinking I'm like rich and like making tons of money. And I don't want them to think that about me because it's not true. And I think at that point before that, I always felt like if I put this company over the individuals that work in the company, that seems like I'm money hungry. And during COVID, I was like, if we do not protect the business, none of us exist here anymore. Right. So like I am protecting the business and this is why. So yeah.
Well, I've heard you describe it as like your third child, essentially.
First.
First
Honestly,
first child. And so like you, like as a parent, you're going to do whatever you need to do to take care of your kid.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like your employees and the people that work for you and your customer base and just the place that you occupy on the east side, like that's all part of that kid, that identity, that universe. And sometimes you got to protect, like you got to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
What's been the most difficult thing of doing all of this?
I think the hardest thing is caring about your employees, but not being able to care about them the way you would if they were your friends. For example, when we were little, when we had like 3 employees, if someone can't make rent and they're like, hey, could you like give me an advance on my paycheck and I'll pay you back? You're like, sure. Yeah. We have like 60 plus employees now and we can't do it anymore because some of them we don't know very well. They've only been with us for a couple of months. They're not someone we've known for 10 years.
Sure.
But once you make that change, you have to make it across the company. Yeah. And so I think that's really hard is that like, I care a lot about my employees and like it's manufacturing on the cider side, it's retail on and food and service on the front. Like a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They are not necessarily have a college degree to go do something else if they didn't have this job. And so I care a lot about like wanting them to have a life that is good.
Yeah.
And I think the person in me is like, oh, like, sure, you can like steal your lunch every day because then you don't have to pay for it. And sure, I'll put gas in your tank, but you really can't. And that's hard because I want to. Yeah. And like, or just like, when an employee has a family member pass away or a family member in the hospital or they have surgery and you just are like so worried about them and you can't express it besides being like, I hope it turns out okay.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, you can show them you care about them in other ways, but you also can't because I don't know, like at a certain point it becomes irresponsible to the company. And then again, you're like, I know it sounds like shitty of me to not give you like pay for your tire, but
Yeah. Well, if you do that, then everybody's coming to Ash Elm wanting to work there and being like, because they're going to fix your tire. They're going to do this. They're going to give you the advance. Like,
and that exists in a lot of other
for sure
industries and worlds and social work and all of that. Like you have to have a certain barrier, but it's hard when you're a person.
Yeah.
And you like, again, are making all the decisions. So you really could be like, sure.
Well, and
you know, like you have the power to decide, sure.
Yeah.
And you don't. Like,
well, and with your lived experience too, just how you've come up, like you're rooted in community in that way, in people.
Yeah.
And so like have to be like, sorry, like that's really difficult.
Yeah. And Aaron is much better about that I am, but like, he also still really cares. It's just like, this is not the way that he struggles.
Yeah.
He cares in different ways, but that's the way I really struggle where I'm like, ask me when no one else is around, you know?
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, so the people side of it is one thing, but you mentioned earlier too about how some people think that you're making money hand over foot and like you're like a super rich person and like that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the biggest...
My salary. I won't tell you.
Yeah. The biggest misconception from your perspective that people have about owning a food and bev business or owning a hospitality business.
I do think people see Ash Elm, like we're a pretty well-known brand. We are in the grocery stores. We are on tap everywhere, which is amazing. Yeah. Like when I say it, I'm like, I can't believe that this happened.
Yeah.
I think we've had 1 year in the 9 where we didn't lose money as a company. And like, I think that when you see a brand as known as ours and as visible as ours, people don't believe that, but it's true.
Yeah.
And not tons. And Aaron would be like, this is one of those things where I'm going to be like, I probably shouldn't have said that. But I think that's reality. Yeah. And I think like, you're not losing too much and you make it back, but like, every year, it's just a little bit of like walking the knife's edge. And on bad years, you actually lose legit money and you can't buy the new tank. And on good years, you can give your people a little bonus and feel really good. But I do think that I think a lot of people would assume a business of our size is making like super profitable. And that's not the case. And as far as like food and beverage, I think, oh gosh. I think sometimes customers assume that the people in restaurants have not thought through much. And I will tell you, I know where every single outlet is in our restaurant, and I know why we put them there and why we didn't put them there. And it's because I want you to sit and hang out there, and I don't want you to sit and hang out there. And I put, I painted that color because of this reason. And I think that a lot of times people will walk in and be like, oh, they don't have enough art on the walls. And you're like, if I could tell you the like 40 meetings I had about why I can't put art on that wall, you would...
Right.
And so I think that that's also just something that just kind of irritates me. Like if you only knew everything, or like, they're like, oh, why did you stop serving this side on a side? And you're like, do you want the actual answer? Because I could talk to you for an hour about it. So yeah, I don't like it when people just assume that you're not really thinking. Like so much thought goes into every single thing. By the time a customer sees it, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
so much has gone into
many iterations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like great reasons. So, yeah.
Yeah. I know someone, and when we go places, they always have a comment about the space. And I'm just like, we don't know. Yeah. We don't know why they are doing this way.
Yeah.
Like, who are we to critique or comment on it?
And maybe I'm wrong, but like in our experience, at least, and all of the people I know in the industry, they're not just like randomly being like, let's just do this for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're also working with other people, like building managers, landlords, other people who have says about what, like you said.
Why don't you have more dedicated parking spots? You think that's up to me? I have a landlord.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would build a parking lot if they could build it.
Yeah, if parking lots weren't the worst.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So I mentioned at the top about you having built this business around community and how the community has shown up, time and time again.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Autumn Tidings, which is a festival celebrating community, I think, centered around cider. But before I do that, we have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers.
Okay.
And that's the reason I brought up community, is because I wanted to ask you if you had anybody that you felt like you wanted to give flowers or felt like deserved their flowers at this moment.
Okay, so I feel like I have to shout out Amanda Gibson. So Amanda is our social media manager. She also works for Pots and Pans and does her own Amanda and Indie TikTok that's very popular. And she is a champion for the community and a champion for small business and the food and beverage community, and does she creates great content for us and for Pots and Pans and for herself. But I think that what she really does is she highlights the people that are working really hard that you might not ever get to know. So I really appreciate that about her. She told me to be on this podcast, which she was like, hey,
awesome.
You're doing this. And I was like, great, sounds good. So yeah, I think, and also like we've become friends. Our kids are the same age. They play, she and I hang out sometimes outside of work. And I think she just like cares deeply about food and beverage in particular, and the people who are putting in the work to bring all of us who are just sitting out there having a good time to foster that for us. Like that's a lot of work, and it's like not fun work. You're hot and you're sweaty and you're cooking, and you rarely get thanks. And I think she really cares about those people getting their thanks. And I think Amanda deserves a lot.
Yeah, she is really awesome. She's been a big supporter of my work and the things we've been doing here on the show for the last few months. Randomly came to one of my events, and it was cool to connect with her because it's led to opportunities like this, a chance to sit down with you. She is awesome because she's not afraid to stand up to the people who might be talking shit. And so like, that's one of the things I really love about Amanda, because she models what it looks like to, like you're talking about, own your own power, step into your own voice, and be that champion for small businesses. Like a lot of people say that they are, but maybe not are actually.
Going to a local restaurant is great, but that is not necessarily like you're benefiting. Like there's a different way to really support those people. So, and she really does that.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that. Shout out to Amanda Gibson, and shout out to Madeline McKinnon, Frida's Flowers, for sponsoring this segment. Frida'sFlowersIndie.com for all your floral needs if you need it. Shout out to local businesses.
Love it.
Autumn Tidings.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, you sponsored the show with an ad earlier, and that was one of the things that we talked about in the ad. So can you tell us a little bit about Autumn Tidings, what that is, when that's going down, and what we can expect?
Sure. So we wanted to start a cider festival in Indiana. I wanted to do it a few years before we actually did. And part of the reason is like, I do feel like cider is an interesting niche beverage, and we're the biggest in the state, but there are a lot of other people who make cider in this state. There's McClure's in Peru, Indiana, and Friendly Beasts and Kekianga and Fort Wayne. Like there are a lot of smaller but really good cider producers, and we wanted a chance to be like kind of using Sun King's model, what they did for craft beer when they opened, and they like really tried to foster and facilitate like a craft beer community, and rising interest in craft beer supports all of them. We feel the same way about cider, and obviously no one else was going to do that, so I did. So the hard part is that it's not, the fall is hard for a lot of these smaller cideries because they're orchard cideries, and that's their harvest season. So it is hard to get a lot of cider people. So it's become almost more straight cider and more of a celebration of fall, and a way to be like, what I kind of say to myself is like, bring the orchard experience into downtown.
Ooh, okay.
So like in different years, we've had apples from Tuttle's that you could buy by the bushel and take home, or pumpkins that you could buy and take home, and fresh apple cider and apple donuts, and kind of make it more of like I'm going to the orchard and I'm picking up my stuff, and also getting, plenty of alcohol on during it. It's a fun way to kind of appreciate our fans who our community and the cider community and just provide a fun day. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. What usually goes on during Autumn Tidings?
So usually we have, I want to say like 4 beer vendors, 4 distilleries, 5 or 6 cider companies, a bunch of food trucks, live music or a DJ. Every year up until now, we've done it at Monon 30, which last year, the first couple of years, they were open and operational. Last year, they just opened up for our festival.
Okay.
And then this year, it's not going to work out because they're under construction for their future project. So we're moving locations. Yeah, it's just a fun thing. Like we make it kid-friendly and dog-friendly because I have kids and I want them to come to work with me so I can see them because I'm busy and I'm giving you my Saturday. So I want to see my kids.
Yeah.
And people complain about that, but I'm not going to change my mind.
It's not their business or their festival.
Yeah. Don't bring your kids then.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it's a fun day.
Yeah. We've talked about some of the difficulties of just starting a small business, so starting a food and bev business. What also is added on top to the things that you do when it comes to Autumn Tidings being one of those things that falls under your wing?
It's like fencing permits and porta potty rentals and, luckily I have a really good team at Ash Elm at this point, and we've done it now for 3 years that I have like Audrey who does our offsite events. I'm like, hey, you staff Autumn Tidings, and Liz who works with a lot of the vendors you contact. So like, and Amanda's doing all the social. So like we've spread it now. After the second year, which like kind of kicked us in the butts, way more people showed up than we thought. And it was like really almost too crowded.
Sure.
Aaron and I happened to have, it was like a weird story, but we happened to have a trip to Honduras like the next day for just a couple of days to make cider at this weird, it was really weird. He had to do this for like 3 days.
All right.
And then we came home. But it rained the whole time. So while he was like turning the little crank, I typed up every single thing I had done for Autumn Tidings and made like email templates for everything. And like, these are the dates you send them. And these are the like folders and websites and all of this stuff. And so then I got back and I was like, here, you guys do it next year. And now I'm moving on to something else.
Well, like you said, you build it and then it's like, okay, I can go to the next
So
thing.
I built the Taylor Swift box the next year. And now this year, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Just gonna show up.
I know. This year I'm checking in.
There you go. Checking
back in.
Checking back in. Okay, awesome. And remind us, when is Autumn Tidings again? So this is coming out the first week of October.
Oh, I don't have my phone. It's okay. It's the third Saturday in October. It's either the 18th or the 19th.
I think it's the 18th.
I should have known that.
It's okay.
It's just like 18th or 19th. They're so close. You know it's the one on the Saturday.
It's the one. It's the third Saturday. You know it's the Saturday one.
Yes.
I love it. And I think it's awesome that you. Well, again, what we talked about. It's a. Maybe the market's not small, but the competition level is maybe not as huge. Mm-hmm. And I think anytime you're in business, because we live in a capitalistic society, it's like you compete with each other. Mm-hmm. I think you've gone out of your way to make an event that doesn't just highlight Ash and Elm. It highlights everybody or many people that are operating in this field. In this industry.
That's really what we want it to be. We want it to like make people aware that other people do this, maybe close to where you live.
Yeah.
So you don't have to come to Indy if you like cider. You can go to Fort Wayne or Bloomington or wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So October 18th, Autumn Tidings at a location TBD. We will find out soon. I read that you did a lot of experimentation in the early years. Excuse me. In the early years with your flavors. Mm-hmm. You've got kind of a set flavor list now because you know what people like.
Yes.
And you know what your customers are going to come back for.
Yes.
Anything that you had back in the day that you would be interested in or that you personally would like to bring back if you could?
Yes. So I have 2 that immediately came to mind. One, this was before I learned that the name that you call the cider really changes whether people want to drink it or not.
Okay.
Yep. So we had a cider that we called Coriander Hefeweizen.
Okay.
And everyone was like, what? No thanks. And no one showed up to drink it. But it was so good. It tasted kind of like, I like beer a lot too. And it tasted a lot like a wheat beer with like the peppercorn and coriander flavor to it. So I really liked that one. And the people who did come in and tried it and like knew what coriander and Hefeweizens were really liked it. So I would love a chance to do that again and call it something else.
Okay.
Like, I can't think of it right now. Some sort of wheat ale or something. I really liked that one. And then I actually had a couple customers the other day who I was talking to in Carmel, in our Carmel spot. And they were like, hey, before we leave, can we just say we loved the basil lemongrass? And that was like the first year. And so I was very impressed because you have been coming for a long time and I appreciate that. And they were like, why can't you do it anymore? And it's because we're so much bigger now. So that year we did it, we worked with Growing Places Indy and just bought a bunch of fresh basil from them and then just like threw it in a tank and it was really good. Now we pasteurize it, which cooks it. So it tastes like pasta sauce and you don't want to drink a can of pasta sauce, but I would love to find a way to make a really small batch of that because it was like drinking the summer. You know,
I like that. I like that description. It felt
like, I'm running through a sprinkler and I'm drinking the summer and then gonna go like lay in a hammock. So I really liked that one.
I like that.
Yeah.
That makes me feel cozy and warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you feel the sun on your face and you're like, oh, my freckles are coming out. Yeah.
I love it.
That's the basil lemongrass cider.
Okay. You just mentioned freckles. So I'm going to ask you this question. I was going to ask it last, but now I'm going to ask it now. I've read that you were like big into skincare. Like skincare is a really important thing to you. I was wondering, skincare or cider?
Skincare.
Skincare. Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. It's my skin.
I know, right?
It keeps me alive.
And then I guess I wanted to ask you like what someone's skincare routine says about them.
Oh my gosh. I think it says I matter.
Okay, I like it.
I think you can tell when someone takes care of themselves in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
And I think healthy skin just means like I drink enough water, which means like you also probably, sweat the way you're supposed to and shower then regularly.
Yeah.
Like it just says so much to be hydrated and to have good skin that glows. And it just shows you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to ask is because I think skincare, what I've learned is like, it's kind of time consuming. It takes a lot of time, and especially if you're doing it intentionally, like, and really being mindful about what you're doing with your skin, it can take a lot of time. So that on top of now almost 10 years of doing Ash and Elm, and thinking about everything that's and parenthood, all of the things that have kind of transpired over this last decade and all of the time that you have given to other people and to the community and to the business, to your kids, to everything. What do you want to see with your time in the next decade, in this next 10 years? What would you like to see?
I have an answer for
with
this.
Your time?
I have an answer for this. I want to write. I do write. I was a writing major in college and wrote stories all the time growing up. And I've been trying to do a lot more of it now, just as a way to I read a lot. And so I was like, you know what? When I was in college and I majored in writing, it was like, I could be a writer, but then you graduate and you're like, no, I couldn't. There are bills.
Yeah.
So and then I taught writing in a high school for a little while. So it's always been something that really matters to me, and not just like I have stories I want to tell, but more just like I talk a lot and I say things I don't mean to, but when I write, I have to think about it first and say, I'm a much better communicator and a much clearer, more concise communicator in writing because it adds a step between just like,
Yeah.
So it's always kind of played that role for me as a way of like helping me organize my thoughts in my mind. And also I think, especially in today's world, writing is, again, for me, like a way of experiencing empathy, even if you're making up characters, which I have been, you're thinking about like, why would a character do this? And what would cause someone to have this personality? And it just really like, what I find is it helps me get out of my own way of thinking and imagine how someone else could think. And I think all of that kind of spirals into critical thinking and empathy. And like in this world where people are so quick to just put people in boxes, it's a really important way to teach it. So like, I'm going to get on a soapbox, but like humanities and like in college and not having that as like a priority is really bad for our like collective critical thinking. And so I think that writing and other kind of artistic expressions is such a good way of making sure that we preserve that. So yeah, I hope that I can, like, my dream is that someday we sell Ash and Elm and I can just like not worry about like having to make enough to support our family because we've sold it for enough to like be okay.
Yeah.
If I worked at Starbucks for 20 hours a week, or Blue Mind, let's say Blue Mind.
Yeah.
If I worked at a local restaurant for 20 hours a week and then like had the rest of my time to write, I would love that.
Yeah.
Like that would be my dream, is to just kind of, I think it is something that is for me in a way that other things I do haven't been.
Yeah, for sure. Anything in particular you like to write, genre, style?
I am writing a romance right now.
Okay.
I know, based in a cider company.
Okay.
It's just fun. Like right now, it's more of just like the practice of doing it and the practice of character development and plot and like thinking about, you know, how would someone go about and learning, like I said, like I love learning about new things. So it's like, how does someone publish something? And like, I don't know anything about it. So let's figure it out and try it.
Let's do it.
You know, like, let's do it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking now. But I think like, I really like stories that are about how, I don't want to say how hard life is, because I'm not talking about like, I love stories about, you know, death or whatever, but just like life is hard. And I think it's okay. And I think that people who are real about the struggles that they have, whether they're real people or not, is kind of what I said before. It's a way to empathize. So I just want to explore.
I can't wait to read any writing that you might choose to share with the world. That is exciting. And I think that like creative expression, whatever means that it takes, is like the closest we can ever really get to true freedom. Because like you said, you know, we spend so much time as a society putting people in boxes and leading with judgment and fear. And I think true freedom to me is when we live in a world that leads with love and affirmation and not from that place of judgment and fear.
Yeah.
And I think we get the chance to put the pen on paper, to type it out, to do whatever it is that we want to do creatively, to express what we have inside. That's when we can do that. So I appreciate you for doing those things and for being who you are and for leading the way that you lead, and for sharing and being vulnerable with us here today. We got one more question for you. The question we ask everybody at the end of every episode is, for the people out there watching, tuning in right now, listening, wherever they might be, what is the best way for them to support you, to find y'all, to follow you, whatever you need them to do to help y'all out? How do they do that?
I mean, obviously we have our like Ash and Elm socials, which is at Ash and Elm Cider, and our website, ashandelmcider.com. But I think, you know, it would be really nice is just like come visit us in person. We have the Indianapolis tap room. We have our Carmel tap room. We've put a lot of effort, and there are a lot of people behind the scenes that work really hard. And we're still learning how to make both of those spaces, you know, do everything we want them to do. But I think that if you ever aren't sure who we are, one step in our door and you're like, oh, this is who they are.
This is who they are.
Come see who we actually are.
Come see who we actually are at Ash and Elm.
Ding.
Carmel, here on the east side. You know what it is.
Yep.
Andrea, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
You did it right again.
I've been thinking about it, making sure that we're going to get it locked in our brain. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually feel really bad because I think that says that we have a really low bar for being a respectful human being. But I will take the compliment. I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. And
thanks for having me. I had a great time.
For what you all have coming around the corner. So for everybody else, conversationpiecepod.com for everything Conversation Piece related. Like I said, this is the second to last episode, full episode of 2025. We're going to keep doing the open door. So if you are interested in that, click on the open door on the website. You can check that out. We got some cool events coming up as well. So get your tickets, grab your seats. Shout out to Tinker Street Restaurant. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Chef Tyler and everybody over there who have been partnering with us to do those and giving away some really incredible stuff. So like, don't miss out on that. And last but not least, shout out to everybody that helps me put the show on. Shout out to Francis and Proper Standards for being behind the cameras this time and for making this really intimate, beautiful space that you see us shooting in right now. Shout out to John and Popular Rapture on the mics. Shout out to Pattern and the Studs for the space. Shout out to Madeline McKinnon and Frida's Flowers for sponsoring our show. And I can't remember who else I'm supposed to shout out, but I will shout out Ash Elm and Andréa for sponsoring the show before and for just being incredible guests on the show. And last but not least, me for hosting the show. I've been Patrick Armstrong, and this has been Conversation Piece. See y'all soon.